want to react to the Cowboys Eagles game this past weekend. But first things first, smallblackjournalist.com. Smallblackjournalist.com is my website. I blog. I talk about, of course, sports, the Cowboys, the Lakers, other teams, movies, sports, just in general. Just to give you a general sense of everything on there. It's a real great website that you should check out. But back on topic, the Cowboys lost to the Eagles Sunday 28-23. This was a particularly strange game. Well, first of all, it felt like the Cowboys were the more physical and aggressive team. I felt like they wanted to win this game more. The game actually felt like the Eagles won a game they shouldn't have won. You know, during an NFL season, there are always games that there's always that one game that you feel like your team shouldn't have won. And there's always that other game where you feel like your team should have won, but they didn't win, even though they dominated the game for most of the game. And they end up winning. That's how I felt about this one. I felt like the Eagles didn't play well in this game. I feel like the Cowboys were the more physical team, and they made more plays, especially in the first half. The second half was a little different. The third quarter was just telling, and the Cowboys didn't have a long time of possession in the game. The Eagles went on long, methodical drives and kept Dak off the field because Dak played an outstanding game. He played really well. He was easily the Cowboys' best player on the field this particular game. And he looked, these last three games, actually, he looked like 2019, 2020, early 2021 Dak before the calf injury. He played really well. Of course, he made the critical mistake of stepping out of bounds on a 2-point play. Other than that, and maybe some people might say a few other things, he was almost flawless. If he continues to play like that, then the Cowboys are in good shape to go on a good run. But I think the problem with the Cowboys in general is that you don't know what you're going to get from week to week from any other positions. I think the last 3 weeks, the offensive line has been bad. The Cowboys O-line these last 3 games, even back to the 49ers, hasn't played well. You know, I felt like they've given up a lot of pressure. It's forced Dak to go back to using his legs, which I think he's good at. I think he's a good scrambler. But it's just the Cowboys O-line in particular hasn't been good. It's struggled. So the issue is also with that is the run game. The Cowboys' run game is non-existent. It's not there. Dak is the Cowboys' run game right now. CD was CD. He was great. Michael Gallup has been an issue since last season. He's having a bad season to his standards. He has had 2 critical drops in the last 3 weeks. The first drop, happened in the Chargers first quarter. Could have continued to drive and the Cowboys could have scored there. And this time with the Eagles, he dropped one right before half that would have gave the Cowboys the first down in the red zone, and it hurt the drive, because if you go in 21-14 and the Eagles have to score a touchdown and it's just a tie game instead of going in 17-21, then you could potentially win that game without needing a 2-point and the rest of and everything, a last minute drive and everything else. It kind of, not necessarily took points off the board, but it was a 4-point swing. And that's, those critical mistakes are going to cost you down the line. You can't just drop a wide open pass. You can't make those critical mistakes against good teams. Just like the defense not recovering those fumbles, the Eagles fumbled 3 times. They fumbled 3 times in their own backfield, and the Cowboys couldn't recover those fumbles. And when the defense doesn't get turnovers, they tend to struggle. They're an opportunistic defense. They're a playmaking defense. They're not a foreign out, stonewall, we gonna shut you down defense. That's not them. We're gonna make a play on the ball. We're gonna try to rip the ball out. We're gonna try to intercept you. And if we can't get those, then you're gonna probably score 28 points on us. And that's not to take away anything from the defense. I think that Trayvon Diggs' injury hurt the defense the most, because since he's been gone, once that injury happened, and since he's been gone, the defense just hasn't been the same. DaRon Bland has played great. He's one of the top corners in the league if you look at his statistics and his play. But I think Trayvon Diggs, just his presence deters teams from doing certain things. And he would gamble. He would jump routes and be aggressive. And I think that deterred a lot of things. Like AJ Brown kept running a slant route. And as I'm watching, I'm like, Diggs would have jumped that route. He would have got an INT. It might not have came early, but he really would have got an INT on that play. I like what I seen out of Micah playing actual linebacker. I feel like he was all over the field as usual. It's just I don't think his body can hold up playing DN, and I think that wears him down as the season goes on, battling against 300-pound guys. So I think him being more of, I know he's not a middle linebacker, but being more of a linebacker, playing coverage, stopping the run, sacks, kind of not necessarily Ray Lewis in the sense of position, but in the sense of leadership and just all around flying to the ball. I think he's been really good. And of course I mentioned DaRon Bland. I know one play he got burned by Devontae Smith. Just one play, but other than that, his play has been stellar. But it's just, the secondary is injury riddled right now. I know Jordan Lewis is back, but I still think he's injured. He's being targeted because they know he's an injured player, and he hasn't quite gotten his speed back because it's a foot injury. So he has to regain his footing as a cornerback. And I still think the Cowboys have a chance to win this division. I still think the Cowboys have a chance to win this division because today the Cowboys showed that they were the more physical team, and the Eagles, while they're a good team, while they have the best record in the NFL, their players are breaking down because they're in a dogfight every week. Half of their star players went down with injury during the game, from Hurts to Slay to Fletcher Cox to Bradbury. Most of their players are banged up at this point in the season. The Cowboys are healthy. The Cowboys blow out the weaker teams every week. They're not battling with a weaker team every week down to the wire like the Eagles are. So when it comes down to it, at the end of the season, the Cowboys might be in a better shape to make a run than the Eagles are. The Eagles have had a long season last season. They played 20 games. They played 20 games, and then this season, if they want to get back to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to play 20 games. They might have to play 20 games again if their record holds and they're the best team in the NFC. It could be 21, but that's 40 games in 2 NFL seasons if they make it back to the Super Bowl. Plus, they went to the playoffs the season before when they lost to the Bucks. All in all, I feel as if the Cowboys can limit their mistakes, play smarter football down the stretch, fix their run game and their offensive line, fix the issues with their secondary, patch some of the holes there, I feel like this team can be a formidable opponent in the playoffs.